As Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. That's some of the best advice you're ever going to hear. At the end of the day, you should always be trying to change the things that you have the ability to change. There are inevitably going to be things that you can't change, but you're never helpless. You're never a victim. In that moment, you still have the unbelievable ability to choose to look at it in a new way, to choose to reframe it. And in that reframing, you change everything. You don't just change your own neurochemistry. You're not just changing the way that you feel. You're actually changing the way that you're going to approach the problem. Something that was moments before, something that seemed impossible, something that was breaking your will to continue to fight, with a change in attitude becomes something completely different. And as Hans Selye said, adopting the right attitude can turn a negative stress into a positive one. And that game of mental jujitsu is what it's about. That game of flipping something on its head, of turning something around, of seeing it in a new way so that you can act in a new way, is how you make forward progress. And understanding that, understanding the need to take control of your perceptions, understanding your need to change your perspective, that's how you begin to get ahead. Once you understand that your perspective is a choice, it is not objective truth. Burn that into your mind. It is not objective truth. The world that you see around you is simply the perspective through which you see it. All of life is a funhouse mirror. And when you acknowledge that, when you understand that you're looking at a distorted view of the way the world is, you realize that you can adopt a different distortion. You can adopt a distortion that allows you to see things more clearly, that allow you to see things in a way that empower you. And that should always be the first step, is figuring out not what is, not what you can change, but instead understanding what you need to change it to. And understanding that that change comes from inside you. It isn't a manifestation that you have to make in the outside world first. It's a change you have to make inside yourself. It is a shift of perspective. It is simply stepping to the side of what you're used to and how you're used to seeing things, and understanding that in reframing things, you take that negative and turn it into something that builds you up. But you've got to choose. You've got to decide. You've got to believe that you can do it. But once you believe that you can see things in any way that you need to reach your goals, your life will change forever, because you'll actually reach your goals. I want to dispel a myth for you. It's the talent myth. It's the belief that some people were just born with more than others, that some people are naturally gifted and some aren't, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and whatever you're going to be is essentially determined by how you started, that your DNA is exactly your destiny. I'm here to tell you right now, that's bullshit. It's just not true. It's not the truth of the way that humans are designed. As a species, we're the ultimate adaptation machine. The very thing that puts us at the top of the pyramid is our ability to adapt. It is the fact that the brain is plastic, that it responds to change, it responds to stressors, it responds to repetition. And repetition is a slave to obsession. As Conor McGregor said, there's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. You could be anyone if you put in the time. That's one of the greatest athletes of our time telling you that he's not the result of genetics. He's not the result of natural gifts. He hasn't been bestowed something by God. He has shown up day after day in the most mundane of conditions. On the cold days, on the hot days, he put in the work because he was obsessed with what he could become. And that repetition that you need to actually gain a skill follows that obsession. So in you right now, today, you want to start building that obsession. You want to look at it like an ember that can become a raging fire, but it needs your time and attention. It needs your time and attention. You've got to take that interest. You've got to take that spark of desire and you've got to fan the flames. You've got to turn it into that obsession. And from that obsession, if you put in the work, if you do the things day in and day out, the backbreaking work, pushing through the pain, fighting through feeling like an idiot, fighting through embarrassment, getting up, brushing yourself off, doing it again, practicing, putting yourself at somebody's feet and asking, what could I have done better? Not look at the things that you're doing well, but look at the things that you're doing wrong. Look at the things that you're doing poorly, staring at your inadequacies with no loss of pride. Because the only thing you value in yourself is your willingness to do that, your willingness to work your ass off. And as Sylvester Stallone said, I'm not the richest, smartest, or most talented person in the world, but I succeed because I keep going and going and going. And that's the secret. There's nothing more than that. The people that you see that win at the highest level, they were the ones that didn't give up. They're the survivors. And you've got to ask yourself, am I a survivor type? Am I the type of person that continues to push through when it gets hard, when it gets boring, when I feel lost, when I don't know what I'm doing, when I have no faith in myself, even in that darkest hour? Can I push forward? Can I accept that the human body will respond to that stress? It will respond to that stimulus, but I have to show up and I have to do the work. And so that's the beautiful thing. You're not
If no one thinks you're crazy, you're not yet operating to the outer limits of your potential.
Doesn't matter how old you are, you can't blame your gender, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter what your personality is, doesn't matter how many strengths you have or what your strengths profile is at all, doesn't matter how creative you are or empathetic, doesn't matter how many years of experience, and doesn't matter how much you get paid. You can't blame them anymore. The data doesn't prove it out. Now, some people say, well, Brendan, those things must matter. I've seen studies. No, I'm not saying those things don't matter. Many of those things are very important, especially at certain parts of your life. But in high performance, it's not the study of initial success, okay? Initial success is nice, and it's not the study of peak performance either, because at the top of every peak is a valley. I think people are tired of the ups and downs in life, and they want that steady path to growth. I'm a creator, but it's not what made me a high performer. There are a lot of people who are creative who can't organize their way out of box. There's a lot of people who are also empathetic, deeply caring, but they can't get stuff done. There are a lot of people who are extroverted who also push away people. So we can't say that any of those things lead to long-term success. But when we get it right, everything changes. High performers are more successful than their peers in almost every category of measurement you could take, whether how much they earn, what they do, how far they succeed in their own industry, etc. They're also less stressed. More success only stresses you out when you don't have the habits to handle it. Don't fear success, get better habits. That's all. High performers are prolific in their field, no matter what that means. If they're a salesperson, it's more sales calls, right? If they're an artist, it's more paintings. If it's a musician, it's Beethoven, right? It's just cranking out the product that matters in your area of expertise. They work passionately, whether you pay them high or not, because they're driven by intrinsic motivations, the care, the passion, the art, the fulfillment of what they do. They're admired and they're adaptive. They change faster, they make decisions faster. They're happier than most people, they're healthier than most people, they get better grades, and they also feel appreciated about their work. There's no loneliness at the top. They feel like people appreciate them, understand how hard they work, and they feel rewarded for it. In other words, a lot of these people you might not initially like. These people are extraordinary, but not by accident and not by birthright, by habits. We proved it. There's 11 effective habits that makes a person successful in general. But when we tried to bust it down and we said, look, Can we prove that they're doing it on purpose? Can we watch it and observe it and track it and measure it? Can we change it? That's what malleable means. Is it trainable? Meaning, can they get better at it and we can show it? And does it work across domains? It works for you, your team, your brother, your sister, your mother, your grandparents, everybody can it work across life? Is it universal, in other words, was our question. That broke it down then to only 6 habits, which I'll share with you now. The first one, seek clarity. High performers seek clarity before they do almost anything. They don't get clarity as if one day in life they wake up and everything's perfectly clear and they know exactly what to do. No, it's not get clarity, it's seek clarity. They are consistently seeking clarity more than anybody else. Many of you guys know I've been blessed to do some online courses with Oprah Winfrey. And one thing I love about her is every meeting she starts, her first question in all the meetings after, hi, how you doings, are what's our intention for this meeting? What's the intention for this meeting? Before the meeting starts, she wants to, not what's the agenda, who's talking about, what's the intention, what are we trying to do here? That's seeking clarity. We found that high performers look to the future more than the general population by over 70% in a positive frame. Meaning, they look to tomorrow and they say, who can I be? How do I want to interact with people? What skills do I need to develop? How do I want to serve? They're seeking clarity in those ways. And now, we all seek clarity. High performers do it more often. Common sense is not always common practice. And that's why so many potentially great people fail to ever reach their full potential. Common sense is not always common practice. High performers have made seeking clarity a common practice. They also generate tremendous amounts of energy by will. They generate energy. They fire themselves up. But it's not just generating energy by will. In every measure, mentally, emotionally, and physically, high performers peak out over the general population by almost 70%. They deal with stress 70% better. They're in better physical shape for their age. It's just like it's not by accident. They're generating the energy they need to serve in the world. They're not waiting for it. See, a power plant takes energy from one area, transforms it into a different form of energy, stores it, then transmits it. High performers do the same thing. They don't hope one day they're going to be satisfied. They make themselves feel satisfied. They don't hope to find peace after they've accomplished everything. As they're accomplishing, they're making themselves find peace. They don't have, wait for like Christmas to bring them joy. They, into each moment, bring the joy. They raise their sense of necessity. In one way, it means they have higher emotional commitment. They stoke necessity. Necessity means the difference between I should do it, I'd like to do it, versus I must do it. I know you guys are in personal development and you've heard this a million times. It's just that high performers do it every morning. They're aware of what must I do today to move the needle forward. They're very clear on what they really must do to progress, and they do it. And they do it because they've associated their internal identity with their external obligations. So they know my internal standards and values line up to make me go there. And they've set up their external life so that there's deadlines and duty to other people. It's why the military is so high performing. Duty, right? Internal standard, I'm a soldier. External standard, duty to my country. Identity, external, wham, together, then you have to do it. They do that on purpose, mentally. Start figuring out right now what we call PQO. PQO stands for prolific quality output. High performers have figured out what would make them not only effective, but sometimes wealthy, sometimes well-known, sometimes more well-respected, by figuring out what's the quality output that really matters, and then they go all in. It's the story of Steve Jobs coming back to Apple after he was fired and seeing over 20 product lines and saying, this is too much, cleared the decks and said, we're gonna focus on these 5 things, that's it. That's what brought us the first iPod, then the iPhone, then the iPad, then the Mac Pro. Like all that build was because he came in, he cleared house and said, what is our PQO? Now, he didn't use that language, but that's essentially what we found all high performers actually do. They figure out what's the stuff that we need to produce. The root of productivity is produce. So busy work is not the same as your life's work. You got to figure out your life's work. What is the things that you need to create that will shift and change everything and leave your legacy? High performers actively, consistently are seeking to develop influence with people, and they work so hard at it. They're very, very conscious of how they're impacting their kids, how they're impacting their friends, how they're impacting the world around them. They're doing it on purpose, too. They want to be role models. Think about anybody who's ever been influential in your life. Who's been the most positively influential person in your life for a moment? Think about that. And once you have that, I guarantee you, I can tell you exactly why they were influential, because our studies proved it out. What makes somebody influential, number one, I bet that person who made such a difference in your life, they taught you how to think. Influential people are telling you how to think about yourself sometimes, about your relationships sometimes, about how you contribute sometimes, how to think. Second thing they did, they challenged you. They challenged what you contributed, what you gave, what you were capable of. They said, you're better than this young woman, you're better than this young man, you got more in you, come on, let's go. They pushed, they challenged. And third, they role modeled the way. They role modeled the way for you, and that changed everything. High performers demonstrate more courage than most people. They demonstrate more courage than most people. These 6 habits change everything. But this last piece is so highly correlated with high performance, you gotta get it. Demonstrating courage means it is time for you to tell your family what you really think, need, believe, dream of. Same with your team, same with your spouse. All the holding back of what you really want in life, in silence, there is suffering. High performers share what they really want of life. Because if you can't share it, you can't get it out there, you can't attract it, you can't move it. High performers deeply care about sharing what's true for them. And they're willing to step into uncertainty even when they don't know what to do. Maybe someone's going to reject you if you start your dream. No, likely somebody is going to reject you. But either you can look in the cave of uncertainty and go, I don't want to go in, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. You go, what's this going to be like? And you wander in with a flashlight of curiosity. And you say, I wonder what this could be. And now your curiosity starts looking like courage. And everyone goes, wow, you got a lot of guts. And no, you're just being curious again. Sometimes allowing yourself to put yourself out there and start asking more questions, that's courage too. But at the end of the day, we've got to take more action.